Hello, how you guys doing? Welcome to the Messy Sweet Spot. I am your host Gigi, and we have some information about Oprah Winfrey. We have to talk about the schools. Did you guys know 6 girls over in that school that she had in Africa? 6 girls was, I'm not even gonna go, but you already know. And it's just been so much mess dealing with Oprah, her association, her quietness. In this video, oh wow, we're gonna dive deep. This changed the game. This is gonna change the game, you guys. I want to know, what are your thoughts about this? Please leave comments. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe here at the Messy Sweet Spot. I just gotta say thank you all for the likes, the shares, and the subscriptions. Let's keep them coming. All right, so let's hear what they had to say. Let's react.
Oprah Winfrey, once America's beloved talk show queen, is now a fugitive.
Doing all types of crazy things just because we want to have a good time.
This is unbelievable. Stand up just a moment, because no one saw you come in standing up. Now, this is what I call a body.
You're so revealing. You just tell everything. Good. You gotta stop talking so much.
You're going to hear about my party. They're going to be shutting them down. They're going to probably be arresting me.
Oprah Winfrey has been spotted in a video from 1998 inviting Hollywood stars to one of Diddy's infamous parties. Now, she appears in the video clip inviting guests to the star-studded bash, Diddy's 29th birthday, and she is joined by other well-known celebrities gushing over the star and his multi-million parties. Now, this is not a good look for Oprah. Now, Oprah has had many controversies throughout her life, but being involved with Diddy might be the final nail in the coffin when it comes to her career. She and Diddy have appeared together at numerous charity events, and Oprah has featured Diddy on her show, where they discuss not only his career, but also his charitable efforts. Now, this appearance helped elevate Diddy's message about social responsibility and community engagement, which is kinda ironic if you think back to it now. Now, this isn't the first time Oprah has been linked to some horrible men in the entertainment industry that have ended up behind bars. I mean, it's starting to become a pattern. When she was asked about this, she said she tried to focus less on the crimes and the victims' stories, and instead inside the bigger picture, which a lot of people had issues with. Her former friend Seal took to Instagram to call her out for her suspicious behavior. "You have been a part of the problem for decades, but suddenly they all think you're the solution," Seal said. "Oh, I forgot. That's right. You heard the rumors, but you had no idea he was actually doing those things to young starry-eyed actresses. My bad," he said. Yikes. Now, it seems like Oprah definitely knew what was going on. What's strange is that Oprah has actually been a victim to the crimes Diddy has been accused of. You see, Oprah was born in Mississippi to a single teenage mother and grew up in extreme poverty. During her childhood, the cost of raising Oprah became too much for her mother to handle, so she was sent to live with her biological father. Since then, Oprah has come forward talking about how she had been mistreated and taken advantage of by her cousin, uncle, and a family friend. As a young teenager, and after suffering for years, she then ran away from home, and a year later she became pregnant. Now, she gave birth to a son, but he was premature and passed away only a few weeks later. Now, Oprah has used this story to show her strength and to inspire people, but it seems like she might have helped continue this cycle towards young girls. I mean, we have to talk about the whole sketchy situation about her all-girls school that she created. When the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls opened in Johannesburg in 2007, Nelson Mandela, Tina Turner, Sidney Poitier, Spike Lee, and Oprah herself attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony celebrating the landmark boarding school founded with $40 million of Oprah's money. But less than a year later, 6 of the 152 students who had been personally selected by Oprah to attend the institution came forward to accuse dorm matron Virginia Tiny McGobo of mistreating them. She was then arrested in November 2007 and released on bail, and she faced 14 different charges. "It has shaken me to my core," Oprah said, of the returning to South Africa with a team of private detectives to investigate the allegations and personally speak with the girls. "This has been one of the most devastating, if not the most devastating, experiences of my life." Now, it seems like she and the organization did not look into who they were hiring and how the operation was running. I mean, this whole thing could have been avoided. Now, following the first trial, Oprah was sued by the headmistress of the South African girls' school for defamation. She alleged that Oprah defamed her by implying that she covered up the mistreatment going on at the school. However, this case was later settled outside of court before an arranged trial, according to CNN. Now, that's not all that happened here, though, as speculation of numerous missing girls from the academy have spread like wildfire across social media. Now, could Oprah have been taking the girls? That's definitely a possibility. Not to mention, parents also came forward with complaints about the school. In March 2007, some parents complained because they were only allowed to visit their children once a month, and the girls were only allowed to use their cell phones on weekends. One parent said, "It was a nightmare. We had only 2 hours to see my child. Surely this isn't a prison or an institution." Another mother said her homesick daughter was very upset over the rules. "Michelle phones me in tears sometimes, and then I don't know what to say to her." Shockingly, the school is still up and running, which is crazy considering all the scandals that have happened there. Then there's her canceled documentary. Oprah apparently spent a fortune to make sure the docuseries created about her never sees the light of day after clashing with Oscar-winning filmmaker and director Kevin McDonald over the project. As the Apple TV Plus deal was coming to an end, Miss Winfrey bought back the rights to her docuseries and has since decided to put the doc on hold, a spokesperson for Oprah told Page 6. In addition, another source said Kevin made the film, but Oprah didn't like it and he refused to change it, and Oprah has paid back her fee to Apple. Internet users reacted to the news that the documentary was putting on hold, and they were not impressed. Many questioned if Oprah was worried that some damaging information was set to become public. "Well, now isn't this sketchy?" one person wrote in Page 6's comment section. Another individual asked, "What is she afraid of or hiding?" Similar takes showed up on Twitter, as one person wrote, "What is Oprah hiding?" while another tweeted, "Oprah Winfrey shelled out a fortune to prevent a documentary release. Sounds legit, money talks, right? Not the truth." Yeah, I gotta say that this is pretty sketchy sounding. Then we know she's mistreated people in the past, whether it be celebrities, guests on her shows, or even her own stepmother. Yep, it was reported that she was accused of being heartless to her own stepmother after she was kicked out of the 5-bedroom South Nashville home she shared with Oprah's father for 14 years. Barbara Winfrey told Daily Mail that her life had been deliberately ruined by the talk show legend following a bitter divorce with Vernon Winfrey. "Oprah's a billionaire 3 times over. Her help to live better than this," Barbara pointed out, adding, "She said publicly that she offered to sell the house and give me the proceeds, but that's a lie. She never said that. Oprah owns property all over the world, so there's no reason to sell this house other than to spite me. It's a personal vendetta," she said. Now, legal papers claim that Oprah was involved in a conspiracy to separate her father and stepmother and essentially make the latter homeless. "What she has done is nothing short of evil, but she doesn't scare me. Her actions cause me to disrespect her," Barbara said. Now, it seems like Oprah is always at the scene of the crime, and online users have been convinced about her downfall for years. One online user posted this on Reddit, and I honestly have to agree with it. They said, "Oprah Winfrey is not a hero, nor should she be considered a role model. Successful? Sure. A good role model? Not really. She's nice, and she's certainly not an awful person, but she also consistently promotes individuals on her show who peddle pseudoscientific nonsense to a massive crowd of guests and television viewers, Dr. Oz being one of the most famous examples. The willingness to promote this type of content either means that the Oprah Winfrey Network is unwilling to do background research into these guests and their claims, or that they will promote whatever gets them the highest view count, making it rather low value and possibly harmful to pretty much anyone who watches the show. Why would anyone look up to someone who endorses science? Anyone who does even basic research into some of the so-called professionals that come on the show would realize they're spewing absolute nonsense. I don't know if this is unpopular or not, but I feel like a lot of people look up to her and think of her as both a pioneer and a good person. I don't see it. Lazy, unhinged, and disconnected from reality, or lazy and opportunistic. That's how I see her and her show. Now, other people responded to this post in agreement, saying, "I noticed this about Oprah 20 years ago. Once you see her, you can't unsee her. She seems shallow, egotistical, self-absorbed, and all the rest of it." Another said, "It wasn't until I was older and seen exactly what her show was about in the 80s and early 90s, and seen she capitalized off making a mockery of her trauma. No longer a role model, just another rich person who snubs their noses at anyone who's gone through life as she has. Makes me sick, actually." actually, while a third person said that she was just straight up evil.
Oprah might have been the queen of daytime TV, but she's made a lot of enemies out of people. We're talking Taraji P. Henson, Monique, Janet Jackson, and was it really worth it? Rose McGowan called Oprah Winfrey as fake as they come in a scathing Twitter post over Oprah's friendship with Harvey W. So she took to Twitter to speak out against the popular talk show host, sharing a photo of Oprah kissing the disgraced Hollywood producer on the cheek. Now, the photo of the pair was taken at the 2014 Critics' Choice Movie Awards, so about 10 years ago. Rose McGowan is a very outspoken activist, and she accused Harvey of wrongdoing, and she accompanied that photo with the caption reading, "I am glad more are seeing the ugly truth of Oprah. I wish she were real, but she isn't." From being pals with Harvey to abandoning and destroying Russell Simmons' victims, she's about supporting a sick power structure for personal gain. She is as fake as they come. Hashtag lizard. Now, Simmons, who was a hip-hop music mogul, was accused of more than a dozen cases of misconduct since November of 2017, and he responded by admitting inappropriate conduct in some instances, but did dispute the allegations of non-consensual interactions. Nevertheless, still not somebody you want to be friends with. And as you're about to learn with Oprah, it's going to happen a lot. Not a lot of people usually quote-unquote feud with Oprah, at least not publicly, which is why it was kind of jarring to see Taraji P. Henson speak out about the disrespect she faced on the set of The Color Purple, a film where Oprah was an executive producer.
I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost.
Taraji's comments sparked immediate rumblings of a feud between the two women, as well as a necessary conversation about the way Black women in Hollywood are constantly disrespected and underpaid. While Oprah has claimed that there is no hatred between the women, there is certainly some kind of messiness. So back in December, Taraji told The Hollywood Reporter that she was fed up with the industry. She said she was sick of being underpaid, and she had been fighting tooth and nail every project to get that same frickin' quote. Later that month, Gayle King asked her about, the comments about retiring from acting, and the star got teary, saying, "I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost. I'm tired of hearing my sister say the same thing over and over. It seems like every time I break another glass ceiling, when it's time to renegotiate, I'm at the bottom again, like I never did what I just did." Now, after these comments went viral, Taraji sat down with the New York Times for a more in-depth interview. And in that interview, she spoke out about racism in Hollywood, pay inequality, and the unfair working conditions on sets like The Color Purple and Empire. That's where she revealed that she hasn't had a raise in her pay since 2018, when she worked on the action film Proud Mary, and it almost led her to walk away from The Color Purple. She said they don't care. They're always looking for a deal and trying to pay you the least amount. She talked about the cast being given rental cars and being asked to drive themselves to set in Atlanta, and when she asked for a driver, for safety reasons, she was told, "Well, if we do it for you, we gotta do it for everybody." And to that, she said, "Well, then do it for everybody." She also spoke out about her time on Empire, during which she said she was fighting for trailers that weren't infested with bugs, and that should be basic human rights, folks.
See, when I speak about Oprah Winfrey, you've been unjust, and you watched a Black woman be thrown under the bus, and you said nothing.
Back in March of 2010, Monique won the Best Supporting Actress Academy Award for her performance in Precious. And after that, she claimed she was blackballed in the entertainment industry and has been for over a decade at the hands of media moguls such as Oprah Winfrey. So Oprah was the person who had an interview with one of Monique's family members just days after her big career accomplishment. Oprah sat down with the comedian's older brother, Gerald, who sadly was the person who harmed Monique growing up. It was reportedly the first time he had admitted his crimes, and he confessed to being a victim of the same actions by other family members. And a lot of folks online didn't take too well to this, saying Oprah needed to answer for this because interviewing Monique's brother after her historic Oscar win doesn't make sense. And it looked bad for Oprah. Other folks started to notice that Oprah definitely seemed to have like a mean, cold side around that, wondering why she was so mean to Monique. Monique said that Oprah crossed her on many different levels by doing that interview. Monique reached out to the mogul, but her efforts to communicate didn't really happen. So 3 years after that interview, she confronted Oprah at a celebration party for Lupita Nyong'o when she got the Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. So she said, and I quote, "Oprah was sitting on my right, and then I turned to her and said, 'Now I need to talk to you.' And she said, 'You could hear a pin drop. Since you didn't want to return my calls for whatever reason, I'm going to say this right here.' And she asked point blank why Oprah invited her parents on the show, even though she wasn't really talking with her parents at the time. And Oprah claimed to have no idea that the entire family was showing up, supposedly stating, and I quote, 'Oh, I didn't know anything about that.' Okay, Oprah. Sure." And she added on, "If I had done anything to offend you, I apologize. You're telling me that the mogul who built her entire empire at the expense of exploiting people didn't know that she was doing this? Sure." Janet Jackson's beef with Oprah is pretty personal when you compare it to some of the other folks we'll talk about today. So while Janet herself was okay with doing interviews with Oprah, she was kind of horrified when her brother's offspring were called on the show. She saw this as Oprah using Michael's family as a means to boost her ratings. And there are sources that reported that there was an intense conversation between Janet and Oprah. And this caused a lasting feud between the two billionaires because Janet was horrified that Oprah was exploiting Michael's family just for views. During an appearance on the Jamie Kern Lima podcast earlier this year, Oprah talked about being body shamed by Joan Rivers. Now, to be fair, Joan Rivers wasn't exactly known for being cuddly. She was known for being controversial, but I digress. So this particular moment happened during Oprah's first appearance on The Tonight Show back in 1985. She had been invited on to discuss the huge popularity of her show AM Chicago, which was kind of, beating then ratings juggernaut Phil Donahue. The star said, however, that it wasn't long before the topic of discussion turned to her body. She said, and I quote, "Joan Rivers turns to me and then she says, 'Tell me why you're so fat.'" And it's like, okay, yeah, that's a bit of a controversial statement, but back in the day, wasn't unheard of. And Oprah was like, this was on national television, and I didn't know what to do with that. So I just did like, oh, I love potato chips, Joan. And she went on to recall that Joan had replied, "Shame on you." And at the time, Oprah said, she agreed with Joan. And Joan was like, "I'll let you come back if you lose 15 pounds. You need to lose 15 pounds. And Oprah was like, I just couldn't believe that she said that to me on national television. She accepted it, though. She said, I accept that I should be shamed because how dare me be sitting up here on The Tonight Show. So she and Joan agreed that Oprah was going to go away and lose 15 pounds. And of course, Oprah was like, I didn't lose the 15 pounds. I went and ate my way to another 10 pounds. Oprah explained that she went to a health retreat in order to lose the weight, explaining that at the time, retreats were just called fat farms. But while she was at that retreat, she received a phone call from Color Purple director Steven Spielberg, who warned her against losing the weight. He said, I hear you're at a fat camp. You lose a pound, you could lose this part. So Oprah said she finally let go of the part when she got the call. She said, the instant I let it go was the greatest life lesson I've ever received because I physically felt the release. And well, as we all know, Oprah did end up landing the role of Sophia in Spielberg's film, which earned her an Academy Award nomination. Oprah came under fire back in 2021 for an interview that resurfaced from 2004, where she asked Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen what clothing size they were. So at the time of the interview, rumors had been circulating that Mary-Kate was suffering from an eating disorder. And later that year, the actress turned fashion designer did spend time in a facility to receive treatment for a health-related issue. But Oprah said, and I quote, I know in a rumor that's recently surfaced that's really upset you, right? You know, the one about eating. And then Ashley was quick to speak up to defend her sister, saying, yeah, people are going to write what they're going to write. We try not to read the good or the bad because it just comes with the territory. Either you're too fat, too skinny, and people are just going to write what they... And then Oprah interrupted, being like, well, what size are you, by the way? And you could see Mary-Kate and Ashley both looking very uncomfortable. And Ashley tried to play it off, being like, oh, size? Like, oh, we're just both petite. And Oprah wasn't letting it go. She was like, oh, that's so interesting. And the audience was laughing. Like, I'm obsessed with my size. And you're like, I don't really know. And the girls piped up being like, well, if we were obsessed with our size, it'd be like, I guess, I don't know, a different story. On air, Oprah was portrayed as this wholesome, sweet lady. But according to her stepmom, there's an unknown side to Oprah. One that she hid from her fans for, years. So according to Barbara, Oprah is one of the most controlling people you will ever meet. She claimed that when, she wanted to come and visit, Oprah was like, no, you're not staying at my house. You're going to stay in a hotel, and I'm not paying for that. You better pay for that yourself. Also, apparently, Oprah was quick to anger when it came to her staff, with a lot of folks being fired left and right over the years for, no reason. But here's the thing. Even though Oprah doesn't let Barbara stay in her house, despite being a billionaire who could afford to stay in a hotel, when Oprah goes to visit Barbara, Barbara allows her to stay at home, which, Oprah's like, I guess. Apparently, the first time Oprah stayed over at Barbara's, she allegedly complained that her bed sheets were not 8,000 threads and that her bath towels weren't big enough. Look, lady, you've got how much money? You could bring your own towels, your own bed sheets if you really wanted. You don't have to make your family feel like a burden just because it's not up to your standards. Thanks to Oprah's weakness for theories that kind of veer towards the decidedly out there, her legacy isn't exactly spotless. Sure, on one hand, she has endorsed plenty of credible things in her heyday. Barack Obama, John Steinbeck's East of Eden, which became a bestseller after being featured on The Oprah Winfrey Show in 2003, a whole 51 years after it was published. But on the other hand, we have Oprah to blame, and I mean blame, for the rise of former actor Jenny McCarthy, who first said her opinion that vaccinations cause autism on The Oprah Winfrey Show in 2007 to disastrous effect. McCarthy has since been repeatedly cited as a factor in the return of diseases such as whooping cough in the US. Another one, Dr. Oz, the famed Turkish-American heart surgeon, first appeared on The Oprah Winfrey Show in 2004 and quickly became, along with, Phil McGraw and Rachel Ray, part of Oprah's team of experts who regularly appeared on the show. Now, Oz dispenses with facts he doesn't find convenient and manifests an egregious lack of integrity by promoting quack treatments and cures in the interest of personal financial gain. He's more like a Kardashian than a surgeon, according to some of his critics, which includes many of his colleagues, who argue that Oz's endorsement under a medical banner of certain remedies, ranging from the pseudoscientific to the downright kooky, is immoral. Now, he has argued that the Dr. Oz show was not a medical show. So, in other words, he seemed to be saying people would be better off taking medical advice from Dr. Pepper than from Dr. Oz. All right, well, give me a cam. The legend of Oprah Winfrey as an extremely poor girl growing up without a father, a too young mother who, Oprah claimed, carried with shame during pregnancy and then neglected her, spread like wildfire when Oprah began giving interviews in Chicago. She was like, oh, how they harmed me. I wanted to be white because I never saw white people being hurt. Now, she remembered her early years as lonely. She didn't play with anybody except for the pigs she rode without a saddle in her grandmother's garden. She mentioned, verbatim, the only thing I could talk to was the animals in the farmyard. I read them Bible stories. Apparently, the years spent with a mother on welfare were even worse. They were so poor they couldn't afford a dog or a cat, so she had 2 cockroaches as pets. She put them in a jar, named them Melinda and Sandy, and she entertained her audiences with stories about fetching water from the well, milking cows, emptying the drinking pot. A fairy tale, really. She told stories about a grandmother who swung a switch, a grandfather who was quick with a stick, the people who raised her for the earliest years of life. She mentioned, oh, they harmed me. Oh, I wanted to be white. She mentioned this repeatedly, folks. She mentioned that her grandmother used to harm her all the time because allegedly it's an integral part of Southern tradition. The way folks were raised. You spill something, you get a thrashing. You tell a story, you get a thrashing. She mentioned that her grandmother could have done that all the time and not get tired. Well, here's the thing. Not everybody in Oprah's family agreed with this desperate upbringing. Her mother, Vernita Lee, when asked about her daughter's habits of self-dramatization, said, yeah, Oprah's a bit of a cold smoker. And Oprah's sister later dispelled the myth of immense poverty. Patricia said, of course we weren't rich, but Oprah exaggerated how bad it was for us. She guesses that Oprah did this because the viewers would love her, the audience would grow. But she's like, cockroaches were never her pet. She always had a dog. She had a white cat. She had an eel in a tank, a parakeet named Bo Peep, who she taught to speak. Where Oprah got that nonsense about growing up in filth and roaches, I have no idea. That was another statement made by her cousin, Catherine Carr. She's mentioned that she's confronted her. She asked, Oprah, why do you tell such lies? And Oprah allegedly said, that's what people want to hear. The truth is boring. Well, I don't know about you, but I just want to know the truth. So Oprah has been recently called out for using weight loss medication, despite being a long-time ambassador for Weight Watchers. Seriously. They're kind of synonymous. The famous talk show host has confirmed she uses an unnamed substance to help control her weight. In a revealing chat, Oprah said her latest slim figure is thanks to the medication and a healthier lifestyle overall. She's like, I now use it as I feel I need it. And she mentioned the fact that there's a medically approved prescription for managing weight and staying healthier in her lifetime feels like a relief, like redemption, like a gift, and not something to hide behind and once again be ridiculed for. In a conversation with People magazine, Oprah concluded, I'm absolutely done with the shaming from other people and particularly myself. However, some fans felt the billionaire philanthropist was feeling hypocritical. Once again, given she is a proud spokesperson for Weight Watchers. She's worked with them since 2017. If not before that. One social media user wrote, what I don't like about Oprah is she is clearly doing Ozempic, but yet she's still pushing Weight Watchers. And another person was like, okay, done with the shaming, but okay with lying. Others called out the star for letting folks believe she did it the old-fashioned way. Asking once again, the party line for today, Oprah, why are you lying? So here's the thing. Confidentiality agreements are not uncommon in the world of Hollywood. Take Marvel, for example. If you say something, if you leak a single line, a single name, game over for you. Poor Tom Holland. So in Kitty Kelly's tell-all book about Oprah, the author mentioned the confidentiality agreements that anybody who was going to appear on Oprah's show or work on her show were made to sign. So we're talking let's say Tom Cruise is on the show. He's going to sign one. If you make Tom Cruise a muffin and you're within the vicinity of the show, you've got to sign one. So think about all the people over the years that have had to sign this. We're talking over 500 people. So one former employee, Elizabeth Cody, tried to write a book about her time working for Oprah, but she was stopped by the courts, still being tied to the agreement she signed. So the NDAs were not just meant to be a way to keep, the show secrets safe, but all of Oprah's personal secrets. So according to Elizabeth, if you were anywhere in Oprah's life, you had to sign one of those. And Oprah was like, hey, I feel kind of, restrained after signing the paperwork. She's not the only one. In 2010, Unicus Performance Training filed a lawsuit against Oprah and her company Harpo, claiming they never got paid for a workout program they were developing. UPT said Harpo fired them for violating the terms of their confidentiality agreement, after UPT sent out a mass email promoting their upcoming appearance on Oprah's radio show. Well, turns out, according to the confidentiality agreement, UPT wasn't allowed to use Harpo's name, Oprah.com's name, or Oprah's name for any advertising or promotional purposes. Unless, of course, they wanted to get the axe, even though they were literally just promoting their appearance on her show. In August of 2023, a series of wildfires devastated the Hawaiian island of Maui. Good old Oprah Winfrey teamed up with fellow Hollywood heavyweight Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to launch the People's Fund of Maui for residents with an initial donation of $10 million. The fiery disaster caused about 100 lives to be lost and $5.5 billion worth of damage. Around 12,000 people were displaced. Now, Oprah, who owns property on 1,000 acres of land in Maui, and The Rock, whose family lineage comes from the neighboring South Pacific Samoan Islands, have faced a lot of criticism over the last year. So their initial statement was they'd been meeting with community leaders for a couple of weeks, they were trying to figure out what to do, and they mentioned this in August of 2023. The Rock added, in this time of need, you want to take care of the greatest need of the people, and that's giving them money. It's going to take a little time to rebuild, it'll get a little worse before it gets a bit better, but we're here doing what we can do. So, Oprah's recent appearance at the Democratic National Convention on August 21st kind of reignited questions about how the money allotted for the Hawaiian people was being dispersed. There was an account on Twitter that went viral on August 28th, claiming that Oprah donated $150 million to the Kamala Harris campaign. And while Oprah did endorse Kamala for president, folks were like, hey, so where's all this money going? Puff Daddy is currently facing some serious allegations that have tarnished the reputation he built for himself in the music industry and beyond. Once a close-knit circle of celebrity friends seems to be distancing themselves in the wake of these serious allegations. Well, there's a leaked VHS tape allegedly sent as an invitation to Puffy's 29th birthday back in 1998 that has further raised a number of eyebrows. So known for his love of partying, Puff Daddy has never shied away from going out and about while hosting such events, although some of his current legal troubles reportedly stem from similar gatherings. But I digress. So the nearly 6-minute-long video serves both as a time capsule from the peak of the bad boy era and as a reminder of how far Puff Daddy, who even skipped this year's Grammy Awards and is now kind of, out of action, has slipped socially amid the investigation. So the tape, which arrived in the hands of the most powerful and glamorous players in LA and New York in a black velvet pouch with the birthday gala, November 4th, 1998 written on it in white script, features, wait for it folks, Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres, Chris Rock, Mariah Carey, Magic Johnson, Will Smith, Ben Stiller, Joan Rivers, Steven Tyler, Joe Perry, Tommy Hilfiger, Clive Davis, Ronald Perlman, Penny Marshall, Stephen Baldwin, and so many more. And they're all taking turns to hype the bash, encouraging the recipients to RSVP and to goof off for the camera. It all begins with a strange home video style skit in which Danny DeVito, lying on a sofa under a blanket, is like, that's right, Puff Daddy's having a party, and this is Puff Daddy inviting you to come. Let's have a ball. And then the cavalcade of A-listers take turns reading from a script detailing the date and time, exactly how fabulous and expensive the affair will be, and then reading an address to RSVP to. Apparently the venue, which turned out to be Cipriani Wall Street, would be revealed later. One person refers to the I'll Be Missing You rapper as the legendary Puff Daddy. Some folks, including Ellen DeGeneres, tease him for his many monikers. Some other folks make fun of their own unease with hip-hop slang. One reliable source who attended the bash said, I've forgotten how much was made of the party in the press. I think bigger celebs and moguls were fascinated by the chutzpah of this 29-year-old. The Daily News reported that at the time, the bash cost $600,000 and 1,600 people were on that list. The Observer compared it to Truman Capote's black and white ball at the Plaza, writing that while Truman's party was more for that creme de la creme of society, Puff Daddy was celebrating the kind of high-profile commercial success and notoriety that knows no bounds. So for decades, these parties were the place to be. Puff Daddy had all sorts of them. He had his annual Hamptons White Party, We had a number of blow-up birthday bashes like the one I just mentioned. There were these lavish champagne and caviar-filled soirees, and these were attended by the likes of Jay-Z, Beyonce, J-Lo, Leonardo DiCaprio, and so many more. There was chatter. Leonardo DiCaprio did step back after a snap from one of the infamous parties came to light, and a friend of his mentioned, like, look, he just went to a party. It wasn't that big of a deal. They weren't super close. But like, look, back when Leonardo showed up at Puff Daddy's white party, the music star had tagged Leonardo as the #1 person he wanted at the bash. But apparently a source close to the situation is like, no, Leo had no connection with Puff Daddy ever since that party in 1998. The insider made it clear that the actor was not involved in the freak-offs. Well, a source shares that they were known to be wild. Anything went to those parties. And ever since all those legal things have been coming into light this year, there's been a lot of speculation about what goes on there. There's been talks of rooms just for getting it on. There's been rampant substance use. There's been these all-night getting it on situations. Apparently, and these, freak-offs were mentioned in the 14-page indictment. Victims were, given substances against their will, forced to participate in extended performances that could last days at a time with professional workers. These things took place at hotels. Now, we've got to remember that Puff Daddy did plead not guilty to the charges and has denied all claims of SA. How much or how little did his A-list guests actually see at these crazy parties? Well, a couple of celebs have not been tight-lipped. In a 2014 episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Khloe Kardashian recalled hitting up a Puff Daddy bash in Las Vegas. And she's like, yeah, this party, I think half the people were like, in the nude. And when asked about what went down when somebody else attended, Ashton Kutcher was like, I got a lot I can't say. And he said that verbatim in 2019 on Hot Ones. He's like, yeah, going through my little Rolodex of stories, can't tell that one either. In 2016, Howard Stern asked Usher, who lived with Puff Daddy for a year when he was, getting a start in the industry. And Howard Stern was like, hey, would you let anybody in your family go to one of those parties? Usher was like, nope. So obviously following all of this, a lot of folks are like, okay, we were maybe at the parties, but we didn't see anything. 50 Cent has been very, very vocal for a very long time, being like, nope, I didn't go to those parties. It's an uncomfortable energy, which in retrospect, probably a very smart man. Puff Daddy's friend Ray J was like, I've never seen anything that's been said there. I've never been in rooms that people are talking about. I don't think they existed. A lot of people in the industry can agree with me on that sense. Now look, apparently all the unsavory behavior took place at the after parties. What happened before 2 a.m. pales into comparison to what happened at 5 a.m. There was a source who wrangled guests for these parties. And yeah, the high-profile celebs would apparently leave around 2 to 3 a.m. And that's when the party took a turn for the naughty. Folks would lose their clothes, which was apparently the signal for people to leave. That's when fun things would come out, and that's when it would turn into a bender. During an intimate discussion with Oprah, peeling away the layers of his complex life, Puff Daddy evoked curiosity by avoiding details about the origin of the Puff Daddy moniker. So this conversation was part of an interview for O Magazine, and Oprah was just casually asking. She's like, what's going on here? And Puffy was like, look, it's a nickname somebody gave me. And obviously Oprah being an interviewer, she was like, okay, but we're gonna prod here. And then Puff Daddy was like, look, I've never told anyone that. I know you get people to tell you everything, Oprah, but I can't look you in the eye and explain that one. He's like, no, we're going to have a name change ceremony. I'm rocking with, a new moniker now. My man Biggie gave me that. So who else was at these parties? Mariah Carey, Paris Hilton were spotted enjoying the lavish and extravagant atmosphere. Going back to Usher, once again, so he was mentored by Puff Daddy. He was at a lot of these parties. He's mentioned a lot of the wild things, and he once, kind of handed over Bieber. Other high-profile guests included music icon Diana Ross, Hollywood actor Owen Wilson. But we're going to go back to Ashton Kutcher for a moment. Because even though he said, I can't talk about anything, and I never did anything, their friendship goes way back. In the mid-2000s, they were so close that they were like, we're the new Rat Pack, us and Jamie Foxx. So when Ashton said, hey, I can't talk about a lot of this, what can't you talk about? Because the Daily Mail is like, hey, we think you might be expecting a subpoena soon about what you do know. And sure, yeah, Puffy has said, nothing's happening. But if Ashton Kutcher is worried about potential betrayal, what would he be betrayed about?
Oprah Winfrey has not been in the public's good graces recently, as she's been exposed for taking weight loss medication and caring more about herself than others. Now, starting off, we have her school. The Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls opened in Johannesburg in 2007. Now, this was one of Oprah's passion projects. She founded it with $40 million of her own money, and she even hand-selected the 152 students who attended. Everything seemed perfect until it wasn't. Oprah seemed to handpick the students, but it turns out she didn't do a good enough job when it came to hiring the staff. Less than a year after the school had opened, 6 students came forward to accuse dorm matron Virginia Tani Mekagobo of mistreating them. Virginia pleaded not guilty, and her trial was ongoing. She was arrested in November 2007 and released on bail, and she faced 17 different charges. "It has shaken me to my core," Oprah said, of returning to South Africa with a team of private detectives to investigate the allegations and personally speak with the girls. "This has been one of the most devastating, if not the most devastating, experiences of my life," she said. Now, in the end, Oprah fired all the matrons no matter what. Now, following the first trial, Oprah was sued by the headmistress of the school for defamation. She alleged that Oprah defamed her by implying that she was covering up the mistreatment going on at the school. However, this case was later settled outside of court before the arranged trial, according to CNN. Now, that's not all that happened there, though. Speculation of numerous missing girls from the academy spread like wildfire across social media. And then in March of 2007, some parents complained because they were only allowed to visit their children once a month, and the girls were only allowed to use their cell phones on the weekends. One parent said, "It's a nightmare. We had only 2 hours to see my child. Surely this isn't a prison or an institution." Another mother said her homesick daughter was very upset over the rules. "Michelle phones me in tears sometimes, and then I don't know what to say to her," she said. "The school is currently still running, but I hope the girls are being treated better than they were before." Now, Oprah has always been made fun of for her weight, which is honestly just a shame. "It was public sport to make fun of me for 25 years. I have been blamed and shamed, and I blamed and shamed myself," she said. Now, one hurtful moment early in her career was when she landed on fashion critic Mr. Blackwell's list. "I was on the cover of some magazine, and it said dumpy, frumpy, and downright lumpy," she said. "I didn't feel angry, I felt sad, I felt hurt, I swallowed the shame, I accepted that it was my fault," she said. Now, one controversial moment regarding her weight loss was in 1988, when she unveiled her new slim figure by taking off an oversized coat and wheeling out a wagon holding 67 pounds of animal fat, the amount she had lost in less than 5 months. Now, the episode drew huge attention, earning the highest ratings in the show's history. However, years later, Oprah expressed regret about it, stating that it was simply an ego trip and admitting that she eventually regained all the weight back. Then there's the fact for the past 10 years, Oprah has worked with Weight Watchers, a diet program that was all the craze. Although it has been criticized by a lot of people as being harmful and promoting disordered eating. With some people not liking her promoting this, she then came out in 2023 saying that she was using an unnamed weight loss medication, and that's how she was able to lose a lot of weight. So it wasn't the Weight Watchers, which made a lot of people feel lied to. Then in 2024, she decided to step down and stop working with Weight Watchers altogether. Many people are saying that she's a sellout and that everything she's ever stood for was a lie. And hey, I can't blame people for being upset over this. It's very likely that she's taking Ozempic or something Ozempic adjacent, which is actually a medication for people who are diabetics. A lot of normal everyday people can't afford to take this medication, and they also don't want to take it from people who really need it, aka diabetics. Now, I understand why people are so upset about this, as Oprah claimed for years that a specific weight loss program was working for her. She's lost a bunch of weight, and then she reveals it was all due to medication. I'm glad she's happy with her body, but it now feels like she tricked a lot of people into believing something that will never come true, and it's just scummy. Then there was her whole Maui fund. In August 2023, a series of wildfires broke out in Hawaii, predominantly on the island of Maui. The wind-driven fires prompted evacuations and caused widespread damage, ending the lives of at least 102 people and leaving 2 people missing. Now, after this happened, Oprah and The Rock came together to create their own fund to help victims, called People's Fund of Maui. It was to distribute distribute cash directly to people who were affected by the wildfires on the Hawaiian island. Now, the two celebrities contributed an initial payment of $10 million to the fund and invited the public to contribute their own donations for the rest of it. Now, after it was launched, people started questioning why the celebs were asking everyday people to donate instead of their celebrity friends, or even them just funding it themselves. I mean, Oprah's net worth at the time was $2.5 billion. Yes, billion with a B. She could have given away so much of her own money, but she decided to ask others for help. Now, people started calling them out on social media, and instead of taking this critique, Oprah hit back and made things worse. All the online conversations being slammed, lies, conspiracy theories really took the focus off of what was the most important thing, and that was the people of Maui, she said on a CBS Mornings appearance. I was on the ground talking to lots of people, trying to figure out how do I best help. Now, the two celebrities thought about how they have both given to charity their whole lives and felt like starting with $10 million worked because it was enough to kick things off before opening the Maui Wildfires Fund up to people who wanted to help but didn't know how to. I was so excited about it. Then I got up the next morning and saw all this vitriol, and I was like, whoa, what happened here? She said. But yeah, people were angry, which again, I honestly don't blame them for. One person on TikTok called their video tone deaf, while another said, we can't afford it, but you can. And Oprah has also been called out recently for how she's treated her guests on her show, and one that stands out a lot is Michael Jackson. According to Oprah's website, 90 million people watched her February 1993 live primetime interview with Michael Jackson. It was his first interview in 14 years, and he used the opportunity to dispel rumors and explain the changes in his lifestyle and appearance. Michael said that his noticeable and gradually lightening skin wasn't the result of cosmetic and elective skin bleaching, but the effect of a genetic skin disease called vitiligo. Now, he also opened up about the mistreatment he suffered as a child at the hands of his father and former manager, Joe Jackson, but one thing Michael refused to discuss with Oprah was his love life. He claimed to be dating Brooke Shields, and Oprah flat out asked him some very personal questions. I'm a gentleman, that's something that's private, he said. You can call me old-fashioned if you want, but to me, that's very personal. Oprah then sensationalized a legal proceeding that Michael was going through, and his brother Randy Jackson came out and claimed that Oprah was airing episodes related to his brother's trial in 2005 to make him look bad in the public eye. Randy said that he believed that Oprah wanted to see Michael in jail, and apparently when Michael saw this, it was the last straw. It was then made clear that she could not and would not be trusted again. But after Michael passed away, Oprah was given access to Michael's former home after being granted an interview with his mother Catherine and his 3 children. Many people in the Jackson family were aware of Michael's distrust in Oprah, and they didn't want this interview to happen, and they especially disapproved of Oprah being allowed to film inside his home and conduct his kids' first interview ever, as Michael didn't like them being in the public eye. A source said Janet Jackson is furious. She thinks Oprah took advantage of Michael's children for TV ratings. Janet told her Michael would be heartsick that Oprah used his kids as pawns, they said to the National Enquirer at the time. The two women had a blistering blow-up during a telephone call on the day that the show was taped. When Oprah made it clear that she was going ahead with the interview, Janet screamed, "Oprah, you make me sick." Now, other family members of Michael have spoken out about their disdain for Oprah, and it seemed like Oprah was just trying to be an opportunist and didn't really care about anyone's feelings.
Oprah's life will live forever on the silver screen, featuring the good, the bad, and the stuff she might have wanted to keep secret. From surprise family members to hiding behind NDAs and hidden pregnancies, there's a lot to learn. Talk show queen Oprah revealed a bombshell family secret to her viewers in 2011, telling them that she had recently learned she had a half-sister whom her mother had hidden from her for decades. With the way the media works, Oprah said there was no way the story wouldn't eventually get out, so she and her family made the decision to do it on the show because she wanted her viewers to hear it from her first. She said, "Imagine my shock just a couple of months ago, the end of October, when I found out I have another sister living just 90 minutes away." So just before Thanksgiving 2010, well, American Thanksgiving, Oprah received some news about her family that she says shook her to her core. So Oprah Winfrey's half-sister Patricia, a single mother of 2, had been given up for adoption in Milwaukee by Winfrey's mother, Vernita, back in 1963. Now, Oprah was super young at the time of Patricia's adoption. She was living with her father in Nashville. She had no idea her mother was even pregnant. So Patricia was born on April 26th, and from the moment she came into the world, her life was far from easy. She was put up for adoption at birth, and apparently she was left in the hospital for about a month. And then for the next 7 years of her life, she bounced around from one foster home to another before finally being adopted. And all that time, she longed to be reunited with her mother. She had some disbelief that she didn't mean to put me up for adoption. She would just always wish that her mother was going to come back and get her, said Patricia. Then as she got older, she knew that wasn't going to happen. When Patricia was 17, she gave birth to a daughter, Aquarius. 6 years later, she had a son, Andre, and mentioned that like her whole goal was she wanted her offspring to, be able to look at her, to see her, to be with them. She spent the next 30 years raising her descendants on her own. What she was grateful for was the people who she had in her life, the people who gave her strength, the people who loved her. She doesn't regret the fact that her mother gave her up because that wasn't the way her life was supposed to go. That was. So Oprah, on the other hand, had 2 siblings, a brother, a sister. Sadly, at the time of all that, they had already passed away. And Vernon, Oprah's father, is not Patricia's father, by the way. So Oprah said on her show, for the most part, her life has been an open book. On her show, she's seen everything. She thought nothing could surprise her anymore, but she was wrong. She described learning about her half-sister as news that shook her to her core. It left her speechless. Now, Patricia said she first discovered her link to the media mogul in 2007 after a lot of years of searching for her mother. And after her mother refused to meet with her, Patricia, who was on the phone with her son Andre, happened to overhear a local news report about Oprah's mom, who was giving new details about her other offspring. Her mother said that 2 of them had passed away, and Patricia knew from her records that she had 2 siblings who had passed away, and she heard that one was named Patricia, one was named Jeffrey. And this Patricia was like, oh my gosh, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up, because I knew that one of my siblings and I shared the same name. And she said, no, that can't be. But it was. DNA tests proved that Patricia was an 85% match to Oprah's niece, who was the daughter of the first Winfrey sister named Patricia, who passed away in 2003. We're going to refer to her as Pat for clarification. Despite feeling rejected by her mother, Patricia decided to keep her findings a secret because she didn't want a media frenzy. She remembers just, worrying about Oprah. She was praying to God that nothing got out because she didn't want to hurt her. Now, Oprah's longtime best friend, editor of O Magazine, Gayle King, told news outlets that Oprah was stunned. Particularly that the sister she never knew showed so much loyalty. Gayle said, here's a woman who legitimately had a story to sell and didn't. She was just trying to find her mother. Oprah, of course, just turned out to be a bonus. So on Thanksgiving Day, Oprah and her partner Stedman drove to Milwaukee to meet Patricia and Patricia's family for the first time. And since meeting her half-sister and her new niece and nephew, Oprah said she had come to admire their character. And she said what was so remarkable to her about this and what made her cry was just because since she had been a person in the public eye, there had only been a few times that she had been anywhere and not been sold out. There were very few times in her life where she could bring somebody in new and not have that person in some way betray you or use you or take advantage of you. Look, Patricia had tried and tried again to get responses from anybody in that family, and she never once thought to go to the press. She never once thought to sell the story. And when Oprah heard that about her, she said, regardless if it's true or not true, she had to meet Patricia because she wanted to meet somebody who had that kind of character. So she thanked her. So a few weeks after the whole DNA test got done, Patricia finally did meet her birth mother, Vernita, for the first time. And she said she just kept looking at her going, I don't know if I look like you or not. She just kept trying to find herself in her. But there's no questioning how much Patricia looks like her half-sister, Pat. Now, Pat's daughter, Alicia, says that meeting Patricia was one of the best gifts she ever could have gotten. Krishanda, Pat's other daughter, first heard about Patricia from Alicia, who then sent her a photo of their newfound aunt. And Krishanda said that when she saw the picture, she just knew it was true. Before even the DNA test, she just knew. And for Krishanda, getting to know Patricia was an emotional process. She said that she knew she had her own personality, her own gifts, but for her, it was a constant reminder of the goodness that Pat represented and personified. Pat had a lot of demons that prevented her from being her best self. And the whole family knew about that, but they feel like Pat speaks on through Patricia. And Oprah did agree that this was closure for her sister who had passed away. But this wasn't Oprah's only epiphany. Turns out when Oprah was younger, she had become pregnant, and that was her big secret. She'd been harmed before that. She became pregnant way too young, and then she was sent to live with her father. And her sister, Pat, went to the tabloids and sold that story. And that caused a big rift between Oprah and Pat because, well, being sold to the tabloids. So when Oprah had left the home of her mother the other day, when she had met Patricia, she realized all of this was a gift to her. Because Pat going to the tabloids, telling Oprah's secret, was a gift in a way because it released Oprah from the shame that her mother still carries, from her mother refusing to meet with Patricia. Oprah was thinking, had Pat not sold her story, Oprah would still be exactly where her mother is, stuck in the shame of her secrets. Now, despite the difficulties she faced, Patricia never gave up trying to contact her biological family. She knew that she needed to get it out or get in touch so that nobody else would release that news. So when Oprah asked, why didn't Patricia want to, tell her story, sell her story, get that closure? And Patricia said, it's not fair. Number one, because it's family business, and family business needs to be handled by family. And when Oprah replied that, now it's out there, Patricia said, yes, but it was handled by family. It shouldn't be handled by anybody else. That wasn't fair, and it wouldn't be fair to Oprah. So Oprah has other secrets as well. She's a big fan of NDAs. But here's the thing, confidentiality agreements are not uncommon in the world of Hollywood. Marvel is very well known for this. If you leak something, we're looking at you, Tom Holland, you're in trouble. Everybody's got to sign one. We're talking if Tom Cruise was on the show, he had to sign one. If you made something for Tom, or if you were one of Tom's entourage, you had to sign one. I think over 500 staff members over the years have had to sign an NDA to work with Oprah. One former employee, Elizabeth Cody, tried to write a book about her time working for Oprah, but was stopped by the courts because she was tied to that lovely NDA. Because these non-disclosures weren't just meant to keep show secrets safe. This was also for Oprah's personal, privacy, which I get it. According to Elizabeth, anybody in Oprah's life had to sign one of these. But Elizabeth felt kind of, muzzled by all of this. And she's not the only one. In 2010, Unicus Performance Training filed a lawsuit against Oprah and her company Harpo, claiming they never got paid for a workout program they were developing for the company. UPT alleges that Harpo fired them for violating the terms of their confidentiality agreement. Why and how? Well, UPT sent out a mass email. They were promoting their upcoming appearance on Oprah's radio show. And according to the confidentiality agreement, they weren't supposed to do that. They weren't allowed to use the name of the company, Oprah's name, Oprah's website name, anything for advertising or for promotional purposes, unless of course they wanted to get fired, even though they were just promoting their appearance on her show.
From talking to the royals to promoting a fraud on her show, Oprah Winfrey is known to be controversial and constantly pushes the limits, but sometimes she goes too far. So with that in mind, here's our list of Oprah's most outrageous interviews that caused public backlash. Starting off, we obviously have to talk about Harry and Meghan. Now, Oprah with Meghan and Harry was a 2021 television special hosted by Oprah Winfrey that featured an interview between Oprah, Meghan Markle, and Prince Harry. And the interview came the year after Prince Harry and Meghan announced their decision to step down as working members of the British royal family in January 2020. Now, it's kind of ironic that they did this interview because Meghan and Harry claimed that one of the reasons why they were stepping down from the royal family was because they wanted their privacy. Now, during this interview, the couple revealed a lot of information. Ahead of the interview, a clip was released of Oprah asking Meghan whether she was silent or silenced during her time as a working royal. Now, after Harry and Meghan took their relationship public, she said she was given a very clear directive from the moment the world knew Harry and I were dating to always say no comment. Now, Meghan also opened up about how she had dark thoughts while being a royal and how she wanted to hurt herself. She also said that she never got the proper mental health care from the palace that she needed. A reading encouraging segment of her talk show that made any selection a bestseller. Now, in September 2005, she picked the book A Million Little Pieces, a memoir by James Frey, about his years-long struggle with addiction. James then actually appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show to discuss the work that she called gut-wrenching. But in January 2006, the Smoking Gun did an investigation, and they discovered that James had made up or exaggerated certain parts in his so-called memoir. Now, weeks after the story broke, he returned to the Oprah Show to face angry viewers and a livid Oprah. "I feel duped," she said. "But more importantly, I feel like you've betrayed millions of readers," she added, also asking him why he felt the need to lie. Now, he stammered and tried in vain to make excuses, arguing that he altered a lot of the details, but that the overall plot of the memoir was true, to which the studio audience responded with boos, gasps, and groans. Now, this cringeworthy interview was so controversial, Oprah even later apologized to him for not treating him with the empathy she reserved for other guests, regardless of the mistakes they'd made. Now, this whole thing was honestly just so messy. Now we have Tom Cruise's crazy interview. Tom made an appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2005 to promote his remake of The War of the Worlds. Now, no one really focused on the movie though, as it was more about Tom's behavior. When the topic changed to who Tom was dating, which was Katie Holmes by the way, Tom couldn't contain his excitement. At different times during the interview, he jumps out of his seat, throws his arms in the air, pumps his fists, falls to his knee, and slaps the ground, squirms, and even tries to walk it all off. Now, the studio audience absolutely loved this. "Something happened to you," a delighted Oprah exclaimed at one point. "I'm in love," Tom explains. And he also jumped on her couch during this interview. In total, he jumped on the couch twice to show his excitement. Now, critics of the interview, though, weren't so sure, with the ringer saying it rocked Hollywood and became a turning point for how we discuss and understand celebrities, and not in a good way. Others thought this interview was cute though. It was a new side of Tom that we had never really seen before. Then there was the interview with Elizabeth Taylor in February 1988. Now, back in the day, Elizabeth was a huge star, but at this time she had washed up a little bit, as she appeared in the occasional TV show or miniseries, but she still dominated tabloids and celebrity magazines because of her love life. Now, this included 7 marriages to 6 men at that point. And yes, she married, then divorced, then married and divorced the same man over again. The New Yorker reported that when Oprah landed an interview with Elizabeth, it was the first major celebrity sit-down for the Oprah Winfrey Show, and it was a big deal. There was one rule, though, that Oprah had to follow during this interview: do not ask Elizabeth about her love life at all. But Oprah decided to ignore this and asked Elizabeth about her relationships. Elizabeth hit back though, saying it was none of your business, and gave Oprah a cold stare. Now, this put Elizabeth off, and during the rest of the interview, she wasn't as nice. According to Oprah, after that, her responses were short and terse, making for bad, boring, and hostile television. At one point, Oprah tried to cut the tension by quipping, "You're so revealing. You just tell everything. I declare, you've got to stop talking so much, Miss Taylor." Now, I can see what she was doing here, as she was trying to bring the mood up, but it didn't work and just made things worse. Cindy Crawford and Elite Model Management founder John Casablancas were interviewed on Oprah's show in 1986. During the segment, though, Oprah had the young model stand up so the audience could see her body, which honestly just feels extremely weird. Now, reflecting on the encounter 37 years later on Apple TV's The Supermodels, Cindy said, "I was like the chattel or a child, be seen and not heard. When you look at it through today's eyes, Oprah's like, stand up and show me your body, show us why you're worthy of being here," she said. In the moment, I didn't recognize it, and watching it back, I was like, oh my gosh, that was not so okay, really, especially from Oprah. And yeah, she's right, that was not okay at all. Now, in the spring of 1996, according to CBS News, the United Kingdom experienced an outbreak of mad cow disease. Now, per the FDA, the disease destroys cows' central nervous system, and if humans eat infected beef, they can contract a deadly variant. Now, during the mad cow scare, the Oprah Winfrey Show booked Howard Lehman. The former cattle rancher had adopted a vegetarian lifestyle and went to work for the Humane Society's Eating with Conscious Animal Welfare campaign, and he appeared on the show to discuss the threat of mad cow to Americans. Now, he pointed out that feeding the remains of mad cow infected cattle to other animals could have facilitated the spread, and that such practices were common in the US. Now, Oprah was left stunned by this. "It has just stopped me cold from eating another burger," she said. Now, with Oprah's influence, right after the episode aired, beef prices plummeted for almost 2 weeks, hitting a 10-year low. As a result, a group of Texas cattle ranchers sued Oprah for $10.3 million, alleging that her remarks caused undue harm to the entire beef industry. One Texas rancher, Paul Engler, lost an estimated $6.7 million and organized a class action libel lawsuit against Oprah and her show's producers for besmirching American beef. But after a 6-week trial in Texas, Oprah won. Well, that's all for our list of Oprah's most outrageous interviews that caused public backlash. If you haven't noticed lately, almost everyone has been hating on Oprah Winfrey. Why? Well, it has to do with past interviews, her beliefs, and her overall attitude. As we all know, the presidential election in the United States was last week, and Kamala Harris had a lot of celebrities promote her and go to her rallies. Now, one celebrity who endorsed her was Oprah, but the Washington Examiner had reported last week that Oprah's media company, Harpo Productions, had received a fee from Harris's campaign for the star-studded live interview in September. Now, the price tag, $1 million. Now, that is just crazy, and it has people upset at the star. Well, Harris's campaign sent out a bunch of messages to civilians asking for donations for the campaign, and fans are not happy that some of their money went to Oprah, who has a net worth of $3 billion. Yes, billion with a B. Now, you'd think Oprah would make an appearance out of the goodness of her heart, but no. One person on Twitter said, "Just embarrassing that anyone thought that Lady Gaga or Oprah were going to swing enough voters to justify this is insane." Someone else said, "All of it is so slimy and disgusting. At Oprah is so utterly repugnant." A third said, "Those performers should be ashamed of themselves. This is Trump-level grifting and is just one of many reasons you'll never see me donate a penny to a politician." Yeah, this is honestly just wrong. It was then said that Oprah donated $150 million to the campaign, but that was false too. Nicole Nichols, a spokesperson for Oprah, told USA Today the show has not donated to Harris's campaign. No donations to Harris from Oprah or her company, Harpo Inc., are listed on the Federal Election Commission website or Open Secrets, a nonpartisan research group that tracks US political spending. Then there was the whole Maui Fund. Again, this has to do with money, and you would think with Oprah being a celebrity for so long, she would know how the world would perceive her with all of this, but I guess not. In early August 2023, a series of wildfires broke out in Hawaii, predominantly on the island of Maui. The wind-driven fires prompted evacuations and caused widespread damage, ending the lives of at least 102 people and leaving 2 people missing. Now, in light of the tragedy, Oprah and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson took to Instagram and TikTok, and in a video, they introduced their new collaboration, the People's Fund of Maui. They said that their relief fund was intended to raise money for Maui residents who had been affected by the tragedy. In the video, the pair cited Dolly Parton as an inspiration for their new venture. They claimed that because people were confused about how to help Maui residents, they sought to create a fund that would directly provide residents with relief. In the lengthy caption, the pair wrote, "We're honored to announce the People's Fund of Maui, a fund putting money directly into the pockets of those who were affected by the recent wildfires. As we have seen firsthand, the impacts of these wildfires have been devastating, and we're here to ensure with 100% guarantee that your donations will go directly into the hands of Lahaina residents." Now, after this was launched, people started questioning why celebs were asking everyday people to donate instead of their celebrity friends or even them just funding it themselves. Again, Oprah has a net worth of $3 billion. Now, people started calling them out on social media, and instead of taking this critique, Oprah hit back and made things worse. All the online conversations being slammed, the lies, conspiracy theories really took the focus off of what was the most important thing, and that was the people of Maui, Oprah said on a CBS Mornings appearance. "I was on the ground talking to a lot of people, trying to figure out how do I best help. Oprah and The Rock thought about how they had both given to charity their whole lives and felt like starting with a $10 million donation worked because it was enough to kick things off before opening the Maui wildfires funds up to people who wanted to help but didn't know how. I was so excited about it, then I got up the next morning and I saw all this vitriol and I was like, whoa, what happened here?" she said. But yeah, people were angry, which I don't blame them for, because honestly, what the heck? Then there's the whole thing with her weight. Throughout her career, Oprah has always been made fun of for her weight. "It was a public sport to make fun of me for 25 years. I have been blamed and shamed, and I blamed and shamed myself," she said. Now, one controversial moment regarding her weight loss was in 1988, when she unveiled her new slim figure by taking off an oversized coat and wheeling out a wagon holding 67 pounds of animal fat, the amount she had lost in less than 5 months. Now, the episode drew huge attention, competition, earning the highest ratings in the show's history. However, years later, Oprah expressed regret about it, saying that it was simply an ego trip and admitting that she eventually regained all the weight. Now, Oprah was also a brand ambassador for the brand Weight Watchers. Now, Weight Watchers was already controversial for its weight loss program, but Oprah stood by it, always promoting it. Things took a turn though in 2023 after it was said that she was using an unnamed weight loss drug, and that's how she was able to lose a lot of weight. So it wasn't the program that she had been promoting for all those years, which made a lot of people feel lied to, and they say that Oprah cheated with her weight loss. Then in 2024, Oprah decided to step down and stop working with Weight Watchers altogether. Many people are saying that she's a sellout and that everything she ever stood for was a lie. And hey, I can't blame people for getting upset over this. It's very likely that she's taking Ozempic or something Ozempic adjacent, which is all the craze with celebrities right now who are trying to lose weight. I understand why people are so upset about this, as Oprah claimed for years that a specific weight loss program was working for her, but it was all due to medication. And then there's the fact that she's had certain guests on her show who people believe shouldn't have had a platform. Oprah made Dr. Oz famous as she made him a regular guest, promoted his books, and endorsed his advice on her show. As the Washington Post reported though, Oz provided a platform for potentially dangerous projects and fringe viewpoints aimed at millions of viewers, according to medical experts, public health organizations, and federal health guidance. Now, less than 1/3 of what he says on his show can be backed up by even the modest medical evidence, and nearly 4 in 10 of the assertions made on the show appear to be made on the basis of no evidence at all, which is not good at all. Now, with Oprah helping launch his career, he has hurt a lot of people with his fake medical advice. Now, someone else who's in the same situation is psychologist Phil McGraw, aka Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil first came on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 1998 and soon began appearing in a regular Tuesday segment to offer relationship and life strategy advice. In 2002, he launched his own syndicated daytime talk show, Dr. Phil, a spin-off of his segments on Oprah's show, which was produced by her Harbo Productions. It has been exposed that Dr. Phil is not a real doctor anymore, and that what he does to help people doesn't actually help, it just exploits them. He's been accused of sending teens to horrible facilities to quote-unquote help them, as wilderness programs, also known as the troubled teen industry, are places that are designed to provide participants with a series of physically challenging outdoor activities designed to prevent or reduce delinquent behavior. And let me say, Dr. Phil has often sent young teens from his show to a wilderness camp called Turnabout Ranch. Now, many former students of these places who call themselves survivors have begun to create online communities to support one another and speak out on their horrific experiences, claiming that they suffered mistreatment at these camps and were left with PTSD, some even taking their own lives afterwards.
Whew, comment, let me know. That was a lot of information about Oprah. I had no idea. I gotta know, what do you guys think about this? Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe here at the Messy Sweet Spot, and I'll see you guys on another video. Bye.